Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. Hope you're having a great day. You're listening to the Service Business Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Tersh. On today's episode, we have Aaron with XOi Technologies. If you have not heard before, we did like a co interview with Jen. That's been probably 2 years ago now. I can't believe it's been that long ago. But super awesome technology, and if you're on LinkedIn, you probably see this a lot. You see this stuff a lot. I mean, it's always in my feed anyways, but it's really cool stuff. And then we just got an announcement that they're partnered up with another vendor that we use, Schedule Engine. So it's just really everything's intertwining, but super awesome to have you on the show, and welcome to the show, Aaron.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what XOi is.
Yeah, happy to do that. So XOi is based here in Nashville, Tennessee, home of hot chicken, country music, and some good whiskey that's made across the street here.
Yeah.
And so if you ever want to come to Nashville and visit, it's a good thing. XOi was founded on the principle that we can help solve the skilled trades gap in technology. And my background is, you probably noticed a lack of Southern accent. I'm from Michigan. My wife says I'm picking up a few words here and there after living here so long, but my upbringing was, blue collar as it can be, right? You had to work on stuff growing up. We had a lot of respect for people in the trades, and it was core to our family. Grandfather's a farmer, dad's manufacturing, the whole thing. Every aunt and uncle work with their hands. So, for me, that experience and that pride was built in. A lot of kids in my generation, I'm getting old now, but weren't taught the same thing. So it was interesting through my career path, which is in manufacturing and construction, that it was hard for me to hire and find people and find good people. And it was clear that the skilled trades problem was real. So we started XOi 7 years ago to address just that pretty big, audacious goal, and developing technology around it to allow technicians to communicate in the mechanical, electrical, plumbing industry more effectively with the customer, with the office, and ultimately consume the information they need to get the job done. So that's who we are. It's core to what we're about. If you see the video, we don't hang artwork like this because we think it's cute. It's because it's a strong passion of ours and a problem that we're really, really intent on solving. So that's our history.
How does that work? Like, how does XOi work exactly? Like, what do we do as a technician? Like, how do we use it?
Yeah. So I think it's always helpful to look at the most important stakeholder, which in our world is the technician, and kind of look at their journey with technology. Field service management solutions, there's 300 of them out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's really saturated. They do a great job kind of greeting the technician in the morning with dispatch and activity information, maybe notes about the site. But a lot of times once they get on the job site, that technology is lightly used, and depending on what they have, not at all.
Yep.
And so we kind of think about XOi sitting in the technician's journey from curb to curb, from time to get out of the van to the time to come back. So I think you conceptualize that gap in time. Everything we've developed and designed is around impacting that time. That's where the skilled trades gap is a problem, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so the interesting thing is that not only do they not have good information for young techs, but it's also really kind of poor communication to the end customer and poor communication to the various stakeholders in the office. So we learned as we continued to develop in that space, that gap, if you will, that those opportunities to surface better information were really important, right? This is an inherently mysterious industry to most people.
Oh, yeah.
Most consumers who buy this, commercial and residential, they don't understand when you say, you got pinhole signs of rust in your heat exchanger, we recommend you replace that. All they see is a number, and they're like, whoa. Yeah, what does that mean? Let me check with my husband. Let me check with my wife. Let me get 3 more quotes, that kind of thing. So those are some of the ways that we provided kind of a holistic communication platform, not just a point solution, live video, point solution, right? Knowledge repository, point solution, workflow, point solution. You see companies who built their whole platform on that.
Oh, yeah.
Try to encapsulate that into an all-in-one, kind of communication tool for that gap.
So with that being said, did you find that, so I've purchased training programs and support programs in the past for technicians, and then no one used it.
Yeah.
How do you curb that as a business owner? Like, so a lot of times we as business owners will set it and forget it. Like, okay, we've spent this money, now it's your problem to kind of figure it out. But how do you battle that within the technician between technicians, and do they find so much value in it that they're like using it all the time,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
becomes their best friend? Or how explain that a little bit?
It's a great question. So I think a lot of those point solutions, whether it's knowledge repository or live video, augmented reality, it's a word my team makes fun of me for using, but I think it's apt. It's episodic,
Uh-huh.
meaning you only need it when you need it, right? As a
Right.
technician, sometimes I don't need to see the wiring diagram. Sometimes I don't need the manual. Sometimes I don't need live call support. And so I think a lot of these point solutions are provided to technicians as a, hey, if you build it, they will come,
Yeah.
right? We'll give you this awesome tool and you're just going to use it. And
Mhm.
so when you look at kind of how XOI looks at the world and that gap, it's three C's: capture, coach, and collaborate. Coach, the smart knowledge base, and collaborate, the live video piece, are episodic in nature. So you have to go, what am I driving for the technician that's valuable to him or her every single job site and drives them to more episodic use cases? So capture is that. So capture is a workflow engine where technician takes a picture of a data plate. We use optical character recognition and pull off make, model, serial number. No tech likes typing in 29
Nope.
character
They
alphanumerics. And
will
as a
not do
result,
it.
yeah, and as a result, the industry has really bad asset registration, right? People, especially in commercial, they don't know what's on the roof. They don't know how old it is. They don't go up there, right? So the ability to do things like that, to take video content to show a customer why you're recommended a repair, to show them that you can be trusted, when you're driving value on every single job, and then you can drive to coach and drive to collaborate as needed through a consistent workflow, you're giving the technician what's in it for me, which also benefits the customer, benefits the company, but also you're able to drive into those kind of shinier objects, I'll say, in
Mhm.
terms of use cases, because you're giving them value. And so
Yeah.
we think that's a really important key and a special ingredient of how you actually get adoption. Back to your question,
Yeah.
what's in it for them, and drive value on every single job, not this special thing they remember they have or not to use sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what I feel like you hit the nail on the head, because our guys, whenever they're like we're a train dealer, and there's train support out there, but then they forget about it, and I'm like, oh, we'll just go to this, they have a special app and everything website for the technicians for tech support, and
Yeah,
then they have to spend 30 minutes figuring out how to work it because they've forgotten how to work it because it's been so long since they used it last, or they've
yeah,
updated it. So not using it consistently creates more of a pain point in the long run, because of that.
yeah, yeah. And they tie together. There's an OEM we're announcing a relationship here soon, that uses capture to actually to send a support request to their call center. So they take a picture of a data plate and a 30-second video of the problem. Our system OCRs that data plate and goes, make and model. I know the expert that needs to help with the system. I'm going to route it to that person with a video of the problem so they can do a live call back to the technician,
Holy
right?
cow!
So they have context,
Yeah,
right? Because right now it's just, people look at AR solutions or live video and they're like, hey, just fire it up and we'll just see what's up. But there's people that have different disciplines and skill sets based on the piece of equipment and our ability to automatically route it. Plus, there's something to be said. I think people put shiny object things out in the world and they go, hey, let's use the AR as much as possible.
mhm,
Let's use it when it's needed.
yeah,
So if I'm sitting in a call center as an expert and I get a video, first of all, I know what the equipment is and I have good context of the problem. If I can make a phone call or a text message or an email back to that tech, do that.
yeah,
If I need an AR call, then do an AR call.
yeah.
But this idea of like we're going to fire up the coolest technology every time just because we have it, no,
Right.
solve the problem. you
Yeah.
know, and sometimes you can solve the problem with a freaking text message. You go, hey, do this, and you're done. You
100%.
know,
And it's funny because so many of us are guilty of that shiny object, like, oh yes, here, perfect, let's do it, let's try it.
yeah,
And then you forget about, or you don't utilize text message, and you can save yourself time, you can save the technician time,
yeah.
and the hassle of doing it all. And that's so do you find so I was in the field when Bluetooth gauges and everything first came out, and I
Hmm.
was a very early adopter, but I was also a young technician at the same time. So, um, I dealt with and still see it in group chats and stuff where your older guys are like, analog is the way to go, never go digital, blah blah blah. Do you have that battle within businesses and companies ever?
Yeah, yeah. So it's a really good question. I'll use a story of a customer to kind of illustrate how we've learned from this, and we've done this wrong too, and had
Mhm.
to really learn from it for sure. But Like we had one of our customers set up a virtual service center where they've got experts sitting in a virtual service center, and they're there to support exactly what we're talking about. It's interesting. They got to a point where older guys coming in would go, "Hey, all you're doing is getting on calls with these guys, whether it's AR, live video, whatever, and you're just telling them the solution. Use that opportunity to be a remote mentor versus a remote easy button,
Mm-hmm.
right?"
Because
And
then you
so
become a crutch, and then they don't
that's
learn
right.
anything. They're like
Yep.
climbing up on the roof calling you, "Hey, what do you think this problem's gonna be?" You're like,
Yeah.
"Get out of
Yeah.
here." Yeah.
Well, and also too, like back to the point of capture, how many times you're like, dude, have you even put your gauges on it yet? No,
Exactly.
no.
Yeah.
Well, all right, dude, stop wasting my time, right? I
Yeah,
need
exactly.
information. So when you have that capture mechanism, you can guide the activity of that collection of content and go step one, step two, step three, step four. This is how you submit a request to get it to the right person. They can actually help you. But back to the mentor point, the same guys that were saying analog gauges versus Bluetooth are
Yeah.
the same guys that are saying, hey, get on a live call and give me answers. And they were right to some extent. It's not that we can't use technology, it's that those should be mentorship opportunities. And so this particular company changed their kind of methodology to say, we're going to ask good questions and train this person remotely versus just giving them the answer and say, what have you done so far? What do you think is next? Well, I think I should do this. Why? Because this, and this. Okay, do that. And they let them do it. Now, what are you seeing? Okay, what does that tell you? Well,
Yeah.
it probably tells me, and you're guiding them through a mentorship process. And then the key there and how this cycle kind of really provides value, our system records all those live calls. We use natural language processing to listen to the conversation and tag it. And then every other technician has access to this now.
Oh, that's
So
what's up.
a lot of people would say, "Oh man, I got FaceTime, it's free. I got this, it's free." You're right. Yeah, absolutely, it's free. There's a lot of
Yeah.
solutions out there. You are having single serving interactions
Very
with
true.
someone. And those experts are answering the same question by someone
Over
else
and
the following week over and over
over.
and
Yep.
over.
Hmm.
Yep. And you're not building an asset as a company, right? And I think that people kind of realize like my my really smart people that are about to retire soon have a ton of information in their head and they retire and a library burns down. So if I
Yes.
can put them in a position where they got a bad back and bad knees, they're not getting on a rooftop anymore, going on job site, but they've got this, which they can use their brain and really help a young guy out in the field. Let's capture those interactions and build an asset as a company. Let's not
Yeah.
have those be one-off interactions because what you're doing is you're creating a better call center.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that person retires, and those 2,700 calls they did, they're and
Wow.
hopefully in those young guys' heads, and
Yeah.
that's it, right?
Mhm.
We have to figure out better ways to educate ourselves and have that information as training opportunities. You can also use that to guide how you train. Hey, we took 26 calls last week on pump
Oh,
compressor change out. Like people don't understand this, or how to replace a thermal overload sensor, or burnt contact, or whatever the case may be. We need to do some training on this, right? This is
yeah.
obviously a
Yeah.
problem based in the field. So
That's
long-winded
really
answer, but
no, no, no. That's perfect because that's exactly what we deal with. Even as like a small business owner, like we get the same. You might feel the same service. You might feel the same call from the three service techs that you have over and over again, and then you don't realize it because you're putting out other fires. You don't realize that you've fielded that call 10 times in 1 week, and so you need to train on that, and then
yeah,
for it to keep track of that. That's really cool too. So um, I guess that would what you said, it leads me into another question. And um, the the training, the communication aspect of it, does XOI actually have tech support somewhere that they offer, or is this where you connect like me, the business owner, with my service techs? How's
yeah.
that?
So we've looked at both options, and we
Yeah.
have technicians in the business today that are doing some support. They're doing a lot of information, like data analysis for us, because our customers have created tens of millions of pieces of content, just recorded content, and we're kind of building towards kind of a product we have for years that we're releasing in the fall. And I can tell you more about that called Journeyman. But um, the idea of having inside technician support, I see a lot of companies doing it. I think it's valuable. I think there is some sense by customers that we've spoken with, A, liability,
Yeah.
B, who owns the data, right? To the point that
Hmm.
we're making. Is that third party taking the data and building a repository? Or do you have access to it? Do you want to maintain? Because I think the ultimate collateral in this business, the ultimate um, kind of value of any service business is the knowledge, right? It's not so much that I can send a van and a truck faster than someone else. Not that those are things aren't valuable, but at the end of the day, what I'm selling is knowledge, skill
Oh
set.
yeah.
That's why it's an hourly cost. Just like I pay hourly for a lawyer, I
Hmm.
pay hourly for all these different services because they're special skill sets. It's the
Hmm.
same thing I'm doing when I get an HVAC technician on site, for example. And so, how am I protecting that?
Hmm.
So that's to me has always been the barrier of going XOi is going to have a call center and you just call us. I know for small businesses that could be really impactful. I
Right.
wonder how sustainable it is given those considerations. And so that's one piece that we decided to do today is empower and build in. Now, that being said, it's really powerful when someone's in a peer group, and most people are, where
Yeah.
you can start trading off that skill set. Meaning, if I'm in a peer group with 500 companies, we're working with one right now with 900 businesses. I don't have to contribute very much expertise on a yearly basis, and the whole peer group can be supportive. And we keep the information in house, and we build the data set in house, and I'm not giving that away to someone else.
So the gears in my head are turning. Does it have to be? Does, so we are HVAC, and we've talked HVAC. Is it? Are you HVAC specific, or are there other trades that you do?
Yeah, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, commercial, and residential. We also are getting a lot heavier into food service as well. Seeing a lot there,
Yeah,
driving
I
into
see
commercial
you
kitchen.
like on Josh Zollin and those guys.
Yeah,
That's on LinkedIn. I see because
yeah.
he's a good friend of mine, and so anything he posts, I see it. And so it's I see a lot of stuff of your stuff on his page.
Josh is one of the best dudes around, man. I love that guy.
Yeah, he is
So
really good dude, and he loves the
yeah.
industry, and so that's really cool. So tell me more about Journeyman and what's going to be introduced in the fall.
Yeah, so this is the vision from the beginning, which is this idea that there is a conversational interface that a technician can have a conversation with and get the information they need. And so I mentioned kind of capture and the fact that we're taking data plate pictures. Well, we've taken millions of data plate pictures, which means we're really, really good at pulling off information on data plates. Now that solves a short-term problem of I don't want asset registration. I would say this leans in on the commercial side a little bit more because you got
Yeah,
salespeople doing 10 RTU quotes and there's
right.
lots of equipment. And so it was a great identifier to kind of have all this data, video content, asset centric. But the long term vision of that was what if I can have a technician simply take a picture of a data plate? And this is kind of phase one. And that simple, quick action would provide them with the manual to the unit, the wiring diagram, premium training content, the
Yes.
asset history. Anytime anyone in their company or their peer group has ever visited that unit with video content attached to it. And if all that doesn't help, a live video link to an expert on that unit.
Holy
Um,
cow.
so that's what we're releasing in the fall, where that simple action will
Mhm.
surface 98,000 manuals and wiring diagrams we've taken years to cultivate together, premium video content that we've created with our customers. So really high quality, high definition premium content. We'll not only take the picture of the data plate, we'll look at where you are and start to provide premium content based on, hey, you're in Miami, you're working on this kind of unit. This is typically the problem sets that you're going to have. And here's video content to help you solve it. If
Wow.
all that doesn't help, here's a live video. This idea is that it's a very small action by the technician and then an empirical data set to help them solve the problem.
Yeah.
So to me, that's that first big step. It took years of machine learning modeling, content gathering,
Mhm.
bringing that to a point where you could actually do that in an effective way.
Mhm.
We've got OEM relationships with some of the biggest OEMs to be able to surface information you can't find online. So we're really just
Yeah.
kind of pulling that into one central source. I think to me, every kid in a trade school and everyone that's learning in the system should have access to the Google of mechanical, electrical, plumbing.
Yeah.
And right now, it's ad hoc content here, a wiring diagram here, a manual here, a help guide here. It's
Yep.
not a central location.
Or it's one of those things where you'll finally find it online, and then it's pay $30 for this one wiring schematic.
Crazy.
And
Yeah.
you're on an old unit, you're on an old carrier, old train, and you open up the wiring diagram, and it's just like crumbles in your hand. You're like, all right, well, guess I'm gonna have to figure this one out. But just
Yep.
you know, but it's that is really that is amazing because that's this what you're introducing is something that we've needed. If I had it whenever I was in the field, I don't know that I would have gotten out of the field. Just it's one of those things that's it's a definite pain point that is really going to be amazing to solve that pain point. And I'm still stuck on the peer group stuff because I'm in a peer group. I'm in a couple of them, and there's a lots of guys in these groups that they'll call and ask me questions all the time. And like, if you had this where you're sharing it between each other, that's just
Think,
amazing to me.
think about a large peer group and how quickly they would have a world class data set, and how attractive that is for new hires, how attractive that is for growth. I mean, this is arguably the industry's biggest problem.
Yeah.
And so, if you have that crowdsource mentality and you have a platform that automatically identifies it, indexes it, and pulls it together in a smart way, you have the opportunity to be head and shoulders above your competition pretty quickly. So,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, do you integrate with any CRMs out there?
you mean like Service Titan, Field Edge, those like FSM type? Yeah,
Yeah,
and there's so many
there are so many
acronyms
of
in
them.
the industry.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
always say FSM is what we say internally,
yeah, yeah.
Field Service Management. Yeah, so we integrate with about 40 of them.
40 of 'em. Okay.
There's over 300 in North America, if you can believe that. Lots of
Yeah,
options. But on the residential side, Service Titans integration, we're going deeper there.
yeah.
Salesforce. There's a bunch
Okay.
that we integrate with. And yeah, it does make a much more seamless experience, because if I take a picture of a data plate for an asset, we can route make milestone number back into the FSM. If I
Oh,
take, yeah, it makes it just seamless, right? If I take a
yeah.
video for a customer, hey, replace the filters, tighten the belts, clean the coils, recommending that you look at a replacement on this particular unit. We'll actually take everything that's said in that video and put
Mhm.
it into text and put it into the notes field. So
Oof.
again, what's in it for the technician? Most technicians take crappy notes.
Yep.
Some are too verbose and take too many notes.
Mhm.
How do we allow them to whip their phone out and take a 30-second video, do the rest of the work for them, and be done? So
Yeah, and that's such a pain point for the office because even like you go to a call and we've been out there before and like, okay,
yeah,
let's be prepared. Let's take the air filter that we need, and nobody put the notes in there the last time.
yeah.
Their notes are missing from it. Yeah, that's a massive pain point that could be solved. That would be amazing. That's
But
really
most
cool.
technicians, most good technicians, can talk through anything they're doing. They just
Yeah,
don't want to sit there and
type it out.
type in a bunch type of thing. So it's interesting, because the transcription thing, people, I think our customers are like, yeah, I still need the notes. I need the notes. And I agree that those are really important for people that maybe don't see the video. But I think to an extent, we're evolving to, does the customer really want to read two paragraphs?
No.
Or would they like to see
Hmm.
and hear the technician walking through what they did and why they did it, or why they're recommending it? So I think it's part of the mental block of getting past that too. But
Yeah,
we can
and I
do
think
both.
that social media in general is pushing us. I mean, everything's going video. So like you're
Yeah.
getting trained, Mark's training us all to watch more videos and all that. So I think that you're right, exactly right. People will prefer to see video versus reading two paragraphs of explaining. But then there's definitely people out there that want to read it as well, and spell check you and check grammar check you and all that stuff too. I I love those customers. Um, but
Wonder. Yeah. Yeah.
do what were you gonna say?
I think no. I just was saying. I was laughing. Yeah, definitely. I think one of our biggest, questions we get from contractors is like, "Well, I got some technicians with pretty big potty mouth. What does your system do?" And
Oh
we
yeah,
do. We do. First of all, it's interesting. So technicians, like any of us, like I can't say I have to clean his mouth all the time, but if
right,
I hit record, I'm not going to be dropping f bombs. And it's funny, guys really don't.
right,
They'll
yeah,
throw in a damn or a hell, but it's
hmm,
nothing crazy. But it's funny. We used to do replacement words. Now we do explicit filter screening on those NLPs to pull that out completely. But one of my favorite stories is we were reading his transcripts. And I'm like, man, this guy really likes his truck. Like he's really getting into his truck. Listen to the video. He wasn't saying truck. We were replacing a certain other word with truck. And we're like, oh, got it. Yeah. So now
that's
instead of trying to
that's
translate it to truck, it just has like four asterisks. It just says something else was here. Yeah.
that's hilarious. That's
Yeah.
so. What happens if because like I have a couple guys that have real thick accents, and I have a couple friends in Louisiana, like New Orleans, and like I have to listen to them very intently. Like, how does translation work with it? Is it okay, or there's a struggle with that?
Yeah. Yeah, so we do a couple different things. We've trained our natural language processing across nothing but technicians across the country speaking about mechanical, electrical, plumbing issues.
Mhm.
So we've been able to really fine tune to capture all different kinds of accents, to listen for specific words, in the same way that we do keyword extraction. So we have this kind of 8,000 word dictionary we listen for that's relevant to the industry, and we extract and tag that content with keywords. So in order to do that, you have to have pretty good translation. Nothing's perfect, right? We're always looking to get better. There's times we miss things. We're working on Spanish to English translations as well. A lot of customers with, Spanish-speaking technicians have a hard time communicating with the customer. So allowing them to just speak Spanish on a video and then have it translated into English so that the customer can see the video but actually read the transcript next to it is pretty important for certain parts of the country. So we always get we always show a video of one of our favorite guys named Kelly, and he's actually in West Virginia, but man, I don't know if there's a thicker Southern accent than him, and it works pretty well. So
that's cool. That's cool. Good. Man, Aaron, I appreciate all this, and it's really a ton of awesome, amazing information. If you're not following Aaron and his team on LinkedIn and in any of the social media, Facebook, you got to be following them. But where should they reach out to you to learn more about XOi?
Yeah, XOi.io is our website, and then you can reach me directly at asalow@xoi.io.
ASALOW at XOi.
That's it.
All right, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Once we can travel again, anyone's welcome to come to Nashville.
Yes, absolutely. And come check out the stuff that's across the street from you.
That's right, man. Sounds good.
All right, man.
Thanks so much, Tersh. Appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. You have a wonderful day.
See you.